Hello there, my name's Jan from JB Crafts, and I'm back today with my next tutorial. So I've gone back to the masculine makes today. It's my son-in-law's birthday, or it has been this week, and this is the card that I've actually made for him. So it has gone to the recipient now, so he won't actually see it before the event kind of thing. So yeah, I thought I'd show you how I'd created this one. He is a musician, hence all the musical features on here. We've actually got the music paper in the background. I've got a music stave here, which is a die, and his guitar, his guitar that he plays regularly is a red electric guitar. So yeah, we've tried to recreate some of the bits and pieces there, and then obviously it is a significant one. My daughter decided that it should have the number on it because of the age this time. So yeah, this is what I've made for him, and again, I've just done the inside, a little bit of inking, a few of the scraps that were left over just to link it, and the happy birthday greeting in there. So yeah, I'm going to show you how I made it. It is a standard 7x5 card. So I'll bring in the mats and layers that we're going to work on. Excuse me, sorry, 7.5 by 5.5. I just went slightly bigger than the 7x5 to encompass what I wanted to do on the front. So we've got 7.5 by 5.5 plain white card blank, which I've made out of a piece of A4 smooth white cardstock. And then I've gone with the brown this time rather than black, because I was working with the craft card. My mat is 7 by 5 inches, and this is just a brown cardstock from my stash. So that one's going to go onto the back there. And then I've got a piece of craft card that we're going to build up the main part of the design on here. And this is 6 3/4 by 4 3/4. So I think what we'll do is we'll actually pop that one to one side for a second. We'll stick this one down and get that one in position, and then I can pop my card base to one side. So I'm literally just going to pop some adhesive on the back of here, and then we'll get this one in place, and then I'm going to work on that top piece to create the front of the card. So that one can go on there like so, and again I've just left a 1/4 inch border all the way around there just for the effect on the front, so that's okay. And then we'll pop that one to one side there just to let that one give it a breather. So that one can go up there for a second. And then I'm going to bring this piece back in, and we're going to work on this to create that top section of the card here. So this is the same size as this, and we're going to build up on this to create this front section. So the first thing that I'm going to do is bring in a piece of the music paper, and I've got a lot of this in my stash from my journaling days. And what I want to do is just position this across the front here, and I've torn the edges again. And I'm going to be working with a couple of different types of ink today. They're both the same shade. I've got Vintage Photo, which I think gives that really aged look, but I've got both the ink and the oxide. So I'm going to do a little bit of edging with the ink and a bit of stamping with the actual oxide itself. So I'll put that one to one side for a second, and all I've done is taken my applicator, used the Vintage Photo ink, and I've literally just darkened all those edges just to give it that lovely sort of oldie worldy vintage feel. So I'll pop that one back on there for a second, and I'm going to stick this across the middle at a slight angle. I don't want it to be too much because obviously, you know, it is a music stave in there, but I'm just going to pop it at a slight angle to create the look that I want for the card. So I think I'm going to go for that side there. So we want glue about there, and oops, my tape pen's just about run out, I think. There we go. So I'm just going to pop that down just sort of at a slight angle, and I'm going to leave a space at the top and the bottom there, about like so. Give that a press down, and then you can either wrap pieces round the back of it, but I'm actually going to cut mine, so I'm just going to take off the excess, use that card as a guide, and actually take off the excess there, and then these bits will go in the scrap box, because there's always a chance to use little pieces like so. So put those to one side, and I'm going to do the same at this side, just using that card as a guide to cut, and then we've got our piece at the ready there. And then just to keep it in line with the rest of it, I'm going to bring that ink down the edge here. I hadn't done that already because obviously I've just trimmed it to fit my card, but I just want a little bit down the edges there, because that bit will be seen when we're finished. So next I wanted to bring the pieces that go at the top and bottom. So I've taken some more scraps of card, and again I've done that torn edge. So if you tear towards you, it exposes the fibres in that card, and it takes the ink beautifully then. So we've got that bit, and then you've got that lovely torn edge, which if you add the ink to it, then it really does absorb that beautiful dye ink there. You can see how we've got that lovely texture going on at the edge. Now I wanted even more texture than that, so I brought in one of my embossing folders, and I love these folders. I've had these a long time. They are a Crafters Companion product. They're no longer available. I think they're well out of stock. They did bring out a smaller version with a lot of the textured looks on, but this one's called Distressed. Again, some of you may have it in your stash, and what I've done is I've popped the cardstock inside here, and we've actually got the pieces now that have got that beautiful sort of texture on. So again, just to highlight that texture, I wanted to add a little bit of ink to it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to flick over to the oxide ink for this one, and I'm going to bring in one of my blending brushes. This is one of the nicest ways that I like to do this on an embossing folder. Just pick up some ink. We'll use the back of this just so that it doesn't go everywhere, and just brush it over the top of the card. And what it does is it catches the embossing. So you're just lifting it slightly to get that nice texture. Brings out the detail. And I've done that on two pieces. So I've got a piece for the top and a piece for the bottom. So that's my inking. Flip this back over, and I'm going to have a piece that goes across the top here, like so. And again, I've made it bigger so that I can trim it. And then I've got a second piece that I've done exactly the same, and we're going to bring that one along that bottom edge. So I'm going to flick over to a wet glue for this. A, it's going to give me a really nice strong bond, and B, it's going to seep into that that cardstock. So again, just going to pop this on the back here, and then position this. I'm going to use the top edge as a positioner, like so, and then I'll trim it again once it's dry. And then we're going to do the same again. I find this easier personally than cutting it to the exact size and then trying to get everything to line up. So I do tend to do things a little bit oversized, and then I can trim them down so that I know everything fits perfectly. So again, I want that to be level with the bottom. I'm just going to leave that to dry for a second while we just go jump on to the next piece. Now I want to actually just slot a little bit of detail, so I'm just going to lift this edge here, and in my little pot of tricks here I've got a little tag. Again, you know how much I like all these little extra pieces. So again, I'm just going to put a little bit of detail, a little bit of glue on the back of here. And what I want to do is actually slot this underneath before that dries too much. So I'm just going to pop it so that it's a little bit obscured. Just see if I can lift that with my tool there. Yep. And I want this to go just so that there's a little bit of it showing there as an extra point of interest. Okay. So that's that bit done, and we'll leave that to dry for a second before I trim those edges off. I'm just going to pop my block on top of it so that it dries nice and flat, and we'll just move that over to one side for a second. And then I'm actually going to bring in a little bit of stamping over the top. Again, it's all just building up those layers, adding interest. So this is a really old Stamping Up set that I have in my stash, and it's just a really abstract design with the dots. And I'm going to bring in the oxiding to do that with. And then again, I've been through the stash. I've got a selection of music bits and pieces. This is actually the music stave. And again, I've no idea where this came from. I've had this a very long time. And I've just die cut that in some cream cardstock here. You can see this is what you get. So you've got that treble clef with the music notes on the stave there. And again, just to bring in some detail. So we're going to use that as well on the front of the card. So pop that one to one side. So what I want to do is, just before we actually cut this off, I'm just going to ink cut, and I'm just going to literally take it to the, you can actually bring it this way if you wish and do it this way. But just for something like this that is really abstract, and I'm not fussed as to whether it, it covers everything or not. And I am literally just going to pop some bits in the middle there just to add a bit more detail. And as I say, it's almost like as if we're aging everything. So again, if they overlap, again, I'm not too worried. So I've just got that detail going on. I'm going to put a little bit down there, and I think that's absolutely fine. Okay, so we'll just leave that one to one side. I'm running out of sides. I'll leave that one over there for a second. Pop the lid on there, and then we're going to place this one again in the middle there, like so. So what I'm going to do is just bring in a tiny little bit of my my wet glue. It doesn't need a lot on here because we're going to be adding other things over the top. So I do like layering on any of my projects. You've seen me do this before, building up those different layers in the background and just adding a little bit of interest here and there. So again, just a few little dots on there. And then I've got my cloth to one side. I'm just going to tap it on the cloth just to get rid of some of the excess glue. And then we're going to pop this one right across that middle area like so. Okie dokes. And again, we'll just give it a nice press down with that block. It's a nice flat surface to press everything down with. I use this quite a lot. And you can just see there we've got that detail in place. So we're just going to take the scissors and trim this off the back here. So again, I'm just going to use that back as a guide, just like we did originally with the music paper, and trim this down so that we've got it back to the size of the matte layer that we want to stick on top of our card. So that's that side. We're going to do the same at that side, and then we're good to go like so. Okay, so this is actually coming on quite nicely now. We've got, this is the next layer of our card. So I think what we'll do is we'll actually pop this onto the card now, and then we're ready to start with the embellishments at the top. So again, because this is craft card and it is much more fibrous, I'm going to stick with my wet glue on this one. So I'm just going to use the Collal All-Purpose and cover the back of this base. And then we can adhere that to our card panel here at the front. Just make sure everything's the right way up if there is any orientation involved. And that's going to nestle nicely. And again, we'll pop this on here for a second just to let it dry off. So pop that to one side, and we'll go on to the embellishments. So if I bring in that original design, you can see here that I've created three sort of panels, three little squares as the back, still sort of background more or less, and I've done those using I wanted them to look sort of a little bit like stamped edges, so you can just see there where I've got that edge. And what I've done is I've cut out the blue. I wanted to introduce a little bit of the turquoisey colour. I love the turquoise with the craft card. So I've cut out three of those in the blue. And then I've used a little square nesting die. This is a stitch square. and I've got some pattern paper that I've cut out 3 of the squares with. And then we've got a little bit of extra decoration. If you can just see here, I've just added some little cogs in a very, very sort of antique gold. Again, very sort of masculine theme. And I've got some of those ready. Let me just grab those out of my little box here. So I've got 2 of them ready. So this one's going to be at the bottom. This one's going to be at the top. And then you can see here where we've got that turquoise. And again, I've cut them twice, cut it out of the craft card just to make it a bit more substantial. And then I've also done the same. I've cut this twice, once in the craft card and once out of some pattern paper. So we've got those good to go. So those are my dies. I just need to stick this one on here. So we will pop that on with a little bit of the tacky glue there. And that one's going to go in the centre of that 3rd blue die cut. Like so. So I get that one stuck down in there. And then we can start and add these to the front of our card. So this one's just got like piano keys. Again, it was all keeping in theme with that music. So that should be okay now. We can pop that back over there. Bring our card blank in. And then what I want to do is I want to pop these along this left hand side. So again, I'm keeping everything flat because there are so many layers. I'm keeping it all flat here. If you wanted to add any foam tape to it, you could do, by all means. And you might think, well, now you've covered up the stave, Jan, but it's all about that layering. It's all about creating those different points of interest and the different layers in there, and I'm okay with that. So what I'm actually going to do is turn it on its side, and I'm just going to bring in my ruler to find roughly where the centre is. So if I just nudge that on along a little bit, my centre's going to be at 4 there. So I'm going to take the middle one first and add this in place first. So I'm going to use my tacky glue there. Make sure we've got plenty on the back of it now because we've got a lot going on underneath here. Get it into the right orientation, which I think is there. And then I'm going to use my ruler here so that I'm about the centre of this one to get this one positioned first. So again, I'm going to go about there. So I've come in maybe about just over ½ an inch or just under half an inch, and we'll get that one in place. And then once I've got that one put in place centrally, I can then work with the other 2. All right, so we're going to add this one at the bottom with that same adhesive. And now that I've got this one in place, I can eyeball this, or you can bring your ruler back in if you want to use this now as a guide along the edge of the die cut rather than the edge of the card. I'm just going to make sure that that's running straight. And then I just want about an even gap now between the 2 pieces and the edge of the card. So I'm going to go about there so that I've got roughly the same distance here and the same distance here and the same distance here. So we've created like a second set of borders, and then we're going to do exactly the same with that 3rd one up at the top there. So again, plenty of glue because we're sticking onto different surfaces. We've got ink going on, we've got texture going on. And again, pop that ruler back in place. I'm just popping it right up against the edge of the die cuts. And again, I'm just going to look at this one and go for about an equal distance again. So I've got about an equal distance here, here, and in between the 2 pieces. And I'm quite happy with those like that. Okay. Just give them a second to grab, and then we've got sort of like the beginnings of that design on the top of the card. So other bits and pieces I've got in my little tub then. I've got the guitar, which is a really, really old die. This is actually a Sarah signature collection from Crafter's Companion that came out years and years ago called Just for Men, and it's got that lovely little guitar die cut in there. And what I've done is I've cut it a couple of times in craft card, And then I just cut a piece of scrap red and just trimmed it to create the front of the guitar there. There's some nice sort of embossing on the front. I've added some little gems, a little bit of a highlight on, and that's going to go on here like so. I've also done the numbers, and again I've used these are a go-to as far as I'm concerned with my numbers. I have got other number dies, but I just love the font on these. Again, another old set, but any of your number dies will do the trick. And I've cut out my 4 and 5, and again I've stacked those die cuts. So I've actually done the craft card, then I've cut out some of the blue, and this is going to go on the front. I wanted it to be neutral tones with the turquoise, with just this pop of colour, because like I said, his actual electric guitar has got the red on it, so I just wanted to be that, just the spot of colour in there, so that it was basically a focal point on the card. And then again, favourite greeting set, the Simply Sentiments. I use tons and tons. It comes in handy for all sorts of different things. And I've just cut out birthday wishes and inked those up again. And these are going to go up here on the top like so. So we'll pop that to one side. We'll get some of this stuck down now so that we're good to go. So I'm going to stay with that tacky glue, just purely because we're going on to different surfaces, textures, inks, things like that. So the birthday, I wanted these to go at a little angle, so we're just going to go birthday, and then we're going to add the wishes, like so. And then we can stick the guitar down. So I want to make sure that the base of it's got plenty of glue on here. And then I've got a little bit of a gap between the die cuts, so I'm just going to put glue on that top section as well. And then this is just going to go again just at a slight angle between the two. You could have had it in the middle, but I actually thought it looked better on those top sections here, leaving the detail with the cogs at the bottom. Just got a little bit of glue seeping out there, but the glue dries clear anyway, so I tend to just scrape it out if need be, but it will dry clear on the card when it dries off. So that's that bit. And then we can also put our numbers on. So again, I'm just going to pop a few dots of glue on that one. And again, everything was sort of, this was nice and straight, but the rest of it I just wanted to go sort of at a bit of an angle there. So the 4, and then the 5. Okay, like so. Just give those a little press for that glue to adhere. And then the last thing I've got, you know that I love my gems when I'm decorating, but with it being more of a masculine card, I've actually created almost like little faux gems. I've gone with a little bit of that lovely antique gold that I used for the cogs, and I've also got a little bit of scrap of the brown that I used originally. And what I've done, I love this little die. It is perfect for this particular thing. And again, not sure where this one's from, but it is actually just a background die, and it cuts out obviously the relief of this. So this is a little bit of the scrap that was left. Really, really pretty. So again, you know, you could incorporate, I haven't thrown that away because that'll come in, you know, to go in a design somewhere. So I'm going to keep that bit in my bit box. But what you also get from the relief of it is all these gorgeous little dots. So again, you know, it comes in great for adding the detail, but not so much the bling. So what I'm actually going to do is just pop a few little dots here and there. We're going to accent the birthday wishes at the top, like so. And then I'm also going to pop some down here at the bottom. So I've just put some little tiny dots of glue down. I've got my sticky pickup tool, and we're just going to go and pop these in place. So we've got 1, I'll come down here with the bigger one. Whoops. I've got a gold one down there. I've got another gold one up there. And then I've got some of the darker ones. And it gives the illusion that you've got the bling on there, but it's not quite as blingy. Okay, now I have got a few little bits of glue seeping out, and if that bothers you, you can just take your craft pick and literally just scrape some of it off. But as I say, it dries clear anyway, so I'm not too worried about it. It won't be seen once it's dried, but you can clean it up if you wish, like so. So we're almost there. And then just for the inside, again, I've gone with a 7x5 piece, which is the same size as the brown layer on the front. Done a little bit of inking around the edges, a few scraps. So I've got a piece of the paper that was left over from here. I've got a little bit of the turquoise, got a little half of the other half of this particular cog, just to link it together. And then the final thing that we're going to do is open that up, and we'll stick this one on the inside. There we go. So that one's going to go in here. And again, you've just got that nice border all the way around. It helps to strengthen the card, particularly if you've done a lot. We've got a lot going on the front of here. There's a lot of weight on the front of it, so it helps to strengthen it. And I just think it finishes it off nicely. It's something that I tend to do, certainly on the cards that I'm making to give to people. I just think it gives a really nice finish. So you can see there, if I bring the one in that I did before, you've got a very similar look going on there. Tiny, tiny little bling on here, just to accent the guitar, because that was my main focal point, along with the numbers on there. You can just see where we've got to there. And again, exactly the same. So yeah, this one's actually for my my son-in-law. So I hope he enjoys it. I know last year when I made his card, he's literally only just took it down. My daughter was saying, she's, my goodness, Mum, she says, your card's been up all year. She says he loved it so much that it's actually been on the bookshelf all year. So I finally managed to persuade him to take it down. She says, only on the basis that I said to him that she'll be making you another one this year. So here we go. This is for him. So yeah, I hope he enjoys it. I hope you guys have enjoyed it. So this is going to go in my masculine makes playlist for future reference. And if you like the video, please give it a thumbs up. Consider subscribing to the channel, and I will see you all very, very soon. Bye bye now.